So
Oh no,
the agent, the authorized, the representative of is the one that speaks for the principal. But the principal is not going to go out and do anything, right? It's the agent that's going to be going out and doing things. And the agent basically took over the seat of the principal and is acting as principal because the principal is sleeping, still sleeping, right? That like Obama could say, I'm a more right now, right? Being that he's in the seat of power, and it's over. Like, that's all. And then every other nation of the earth will realize what's going on, and then the republics will start back again. Like, that's how easy it is. But people take checks. And once you take the check, you have no talk whatsoever. Don't even open your mouth to say anything. Just sit there and mute. You know? That's like Kobe, right? Get his nose injured or whatever, right? And man gets a broken nose, whatever, nigga. Put on a mask and go bounce the ball. Because you don't have no authority around here to say what that you want the rest of your face because you got a broken nose. You go play. You got a contract. You go bounce that ball right
Worse,
there.
they don't even have to tell him. You just want to do it because
Just
he's
because,
so conditioned
to
I have to
yeah.
give my all.
That's showing that he is such a great player because he has a broken nose and he's playing basketball. You're an idiot. You know, you play with a mask on your face just for basketball, right? And it's not and it's like you're saying, it's conditioning, right? Because like I mean we did it, right? You have an injured ankle and then you're gonna go play still, and we're not even getting paid to do it. We're just we're just on the corner. You know what I mean? We're just going to the gym to play. But we're playing on twisted ankles and stuff like that. Just because they have to prove that we're not getting anything for it, right? And then 10 years later, you can't walk, you can't do nothing, right? You can't get a job, you can't get no benefits or anything like that, and you're done for, right? So the agent is liable for fraud, right? The agent's liable for fraud when the principal is not in his contractual capacity or dead, right? So the agent's not supposed to violate. The agent's not supposed to want to do their own thing.
But he can do it as long as he's able to get away with it.
To get away with it, right? Right, and that's why fraud is vast. You know, fraud covers so many different things. You know, and if fraud's not identified, then fraud will continue. And fraud, you know, like the miseducation of the Negro, you know, Carter G. Woodson, is the miseducation of the Moor. Because I mean, if a Negro is miseducated, a Negro is not educated in the first place.
Exactly.
So you know how miseducated could you miseducate somebody that's already miseducated? You know what I mean? Like how stupid could you make somebody? You know, like if you have the man walking into the wall, like what more do you want? What more are you gonna do? Right? But it's the miseducation of the Moor. Because they don't deny, you know, especially Europeans, they don't deny the fact of the legacy. It's not something that, you know, people don't talk about or don't know about. Like they know about the legacy. You know, like they're confident about the legacy of the Moors, right? Like they'll speak about it. Oh yeah, we know about the Moors. They might not go in detail, right? How you doing, sister? Right? Yeah, no problem. Let's get a seat anyway. You know, right? So we have this like, and it's for more. Like we have to, as Moors, we have to stop thinking about hurting people's feelings when we're correcting things that need to be corrected, right? You know, we can't continue to be passive. You know what I mean, because if we don't really put the information out there about nationality and birthrights and the fact that it exists and it's something that's real and everybody in the world knows about it, except these people in this area of the world, right? That come from North America, like these people, right? That they don't have a real concept, of who they are, and that's the claim that they make. That yeah, I know who I am. I know who I am. I know myself because like we follow Kwanzaa or we learn a new African language or you know what I mean. You know, because we dress a certain way or there's more to who we are than just these routine things that we think is what makes us cultural people. Like the Moorish history is vast, and right before Black history is Moorish history. Like there's no other history. When they talk about you say the Moors ruled Spain from 711 to 1492. Okay, well 1493 is Black history.
Exactly.
Right? And it's a big deal. It's a case because people don't really understand how detrimental this thing is. You know what I mean? Like they don't really get how spiritually demoralizing it is for you to identify yourself as something that you're not. Forget about what you call yourself. The fact that you're calling yourself something that you're not, when everybody knows that you're not that, but you insist on them accepting the fact that you say, well, I say that I'm that, so that's what I am. And you don't expect people to turn their back to you, right? And then when they do that, you're claiming that, oh, it's because of your color why they're doing that, and they're doing that because, they had you in slavery at one time, and that's just them still, practicing their slave tactics on you, when it's really us. Like Sheikh Anthony Diop said, like bashing the Moors hard, saying the Moors are Europeans basically, right? Like where he's not wrong because the Moors are Europeans. We're on all the European family name press, so yeah, Moors are Europeans.
True Europeans.
You know what I mean? What European are you talking about? Just like if a European could say I'm a Afrikaner. If a European could say I'm an Afrikaner, and somebody who says that they're African, and those guys, and they're not trying to, no, you're not calling them, they call themselves Africans still. Even though there's Europeans that call themselves Afrikaner, and go get land and all that type of stuff, have land that they're not coming off of because this is ours, right? How are they able to do that? That's not no political thing. They're claiming the birthright that these dumb Africans don't want to claim. Because they think that they're Ghanaian and all these tribal names. or jurisdictional territory name, right? But what's the birthright name, right? Noble Drew Ali founded the old Canaanite temple and then changed it to the Moorish Holy Temple. How come Moorish and Canaanite is being used by him? Because those are the same people. It's not no different. Just like the Jews in Harlem call themselves Moorish Jews of Harlem. Like documented fact that they call themselves Moorish Jews. Right? Like Brother Hanif says, well, you know, if Moors are Jews, then not all Moors are Islamic. Right? So UNIA influential members. This is from my book, Nationality, the Order of the Day, The Divine Message and Warning to Rastafarians, Garveyites, Pan-Africans. Rabbi Arnold Josiah Ford, April 23rd, 1877, September 16th, 1935. The first quote-unquote black rabbi in America and a prominent member of Harlem's black Jews. As composer of many UNIA songs, Ford co-authored the Universal Ethiopian Anthem with Benjamin E. Burrell. Ford officially functioned as director of the UNIA Band, orchestra band of the African Legion and the Liberty Hall Choir. Ford was a luminary in the UNIA. Ford offered Hebrew classes and religious instruction to a number of lay people and clergy in the Harlem area. Ford worked with both Matthew's Commandment Keepers congregation and the Moorish Zionist congregation led by Mordecai Herman in the 1920s. In 1930, he and a small group of black Jews, quote unquote, went to Ethiopia, where they participated in the coronation of Emperor Haile Selassie, creating a school and acquiring 800 acres of land for the purpose of uniting quote-unquote black Jews of the diaspora with their brothers already in Ethiopia. He died there in 1935. So not just Muslims are Jews, but Moors are also not Moors are only Jews.
Right.
Moors are also Muslim. Moors are also Islamic. Right? Moors are also Christian.
Because more is national.
Right.
Nationality.
That's the national
And these
part.
are
And
faiths
that's
and religions.
faiths
Right.
and religions or
Customs.
whatever else it is,
Exactly.
right? That attaches that your nationality has to be attached to. Right? In order for you to be able to function in society and be recognized as a living entity. Right? Like you have to have, like we have severe identity crisis. Because we don't want to accept our real identity, but everybody else accepts our identity. Right? And we're going to have our own scholars talk negative about our own identity, which means they're also talking about theirs identity,
Yeah, but
bashing it.
as you keep saying that if you want to find out about Moors, you have to read from the Moorish perspective as well.
Right.
And he doesn't identify himself as a Moor, so
Right.
we're going to get a lot of good stuff in that book. But you know, when it comes to him dealing with the Moors, it's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it comes back again to know that because you read books doesn't mean you know thyself. Because sheikh is chic.
Which is
Sheikh
Moorish.
Anta Diop. Sheikh Anta Diop talking negative about his own nationality. Right? You know? And you know, some people, you know, we have the honorables that talk about it in the proper perspective, right? And then we have ones that don't honor it, you know. And the only reason they don't honor it is because they're agents, right? And what's the agent? The agent's sent out by the principal. But the law of agent and principal always applies. So if the agent gets caught, then the principal is responsible. If the principal gets caught, then the principal is responsible for his subordinates, who he was going to send out that he didn't get to send out, because that's what principals do, especially when they're trying to occupy something that's not theirs. They're going to use the agent that looks like us to infiltrate, because that's all they can use. They can't send no Europeans up in here that are on some agent frequencies to try to infiltrate nothing around here, right? Because we're spiritual beings before we're physical beings, So we already know your energy coming in the door. Vanguards know you watch that guy, watch that lady right there. Even if they come in skin like ours, right? That's why we had the vanguards, because that's the angels. The angels that have the flaming swords protecting, because you need the angels there, So we have to always remember that when they talk about exercise of rights, because there was a big thing about this on Facebook about, well, I know about my rights, so I'm going to exercise them. Well, not really, because these people don't play when you start exercising rights. And if you don't have recourse, if you don't know how to deal with them violating the right before you exercise it, then you're just setting yourself up to get abused. You know what I mean? Some people learn the hard way. And some people, it's just a cakewalk for them. And there's people that, go to a store, show their nationality card and get, tax written off. Just because. That's just their road to travel. And because they do that doesn't mean that everybody's gonna go do that. For as little as reserving rights on a contract, right? Brother got a ticket, went to the court to fight it. They said, okay, you'll sign here. All rights reserved, UCC, all that. Give it back. No, you can't do this. You have to sign again. Sign it. All rights reserved, UCC. You can't do this. That's not really your signature. Da 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 da. And this is the clerk at the wicket at the court when you go pay your ticket. Canceled his ticket with a stamp.
Oh yeah.
Bear witness.
Like canceled his ticket. Yo, forget here. Let's get out of here.
Too much trouble.
You're too much trouble.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Because authority. Who's the principal? The agent has to do what the principal says to do. And if the principal doesn't exercise the authority, then the agent is going to assume the authority and do with it whatever they will, because they're assuming. Or they're colored. Or they're not dealing with facts. They're dealing with what it could be, not what it is. That's something.
Yeah. So what it is, right, is part of what the Prophet brought us is that we're not Negro, Black, and Coloreds, Africans, Ethiopians, that we're from here. One of his oral statements, number 149. Sister M. Peyton Bay, Grand National Treasurer Emeritus, said that the Holy Prophet said, "You are from Missouri. I've got to show you." Right? So he said, "You're from Missouri." And then another oral statement for his brother here, Number 121, Brother G. Cook Bey, Grand Sheikh of Temple 1, said, the Holy Prophet said, while I am talking to you Moors, my spirit is over in India with them, and those old sisters are jumping this high. They are jumping as high as he was holding his hand because of my coming to them. Right? So we're just talking about the Dravidians and, yeah, and the southern Indian people of southern India, right? Prophet was there in those times. The spirit was there, right? Because those are Moors too, right? And the universal prophet. So even though he had to be here in the flesh for these people here specifically, he's for all the Moors all over the world, right? And he came to them, but right now, Moors, they don't want people to know that Moors are trying to do what the prophet wanted them to do. So like I said before, they're going to show on the news about people fighting for democracy and things that don't even are artificial, are made up. And we're not artificial people. As soon as you try to live and exist and try to do, play games in an artificial realm, then you're going to get burned up. There's no ifs, ands, or doubts. And so part of being natural people and coming from this land, we make references to the Washita and our own fellow Moors. So this is We Are the Washita by Brother Umar Shabazz Bey.
You should have the booklet. It's a little small booklet. If you don't have the booklet, get the booklet.
Get it.
Like,
That's it.
like, what's the problem? We are the Washita.
Right?
We are, but for real, we are the Washita.
The oldest indigenous people on this planet.
We are the Washita.
The subtitle, The Indigenous Black Inhabitants of North America. The suppressed story of the ancient ones, the original mound-building inhabitants of North America. Right? Misnomer Black inhabitants, Black mound building. Compiled under the direction of Empress of the Washita, Verdiasi Tiari Washita, Turner Gostin L. Bay. So I'm just going to read from whichever chapter, the chapter called Where Are the Lands of the Washita Empire? We're talking about boundaries before. It says, the Washita never drew boundaries, right? We are the original inhabitants of all the lands from Atlantic to the Pacific down through Mu, bracket South America. So that just caught my attention. I'm going to read on, but first my thing is, we were talking about Africans from different jurisdictions in Africa, Ghana and Nigeria and these places, and you don't need to meet too many people from the continent to get that understanding that, hold on, the people in each of those countries aren't just from those countries, right? And the tribes that the people are from don't exist only in one boundary jurisdiction. So in other words, tribes are cut by borders, right? And the borders of countries include many different tribes. So why would a nation, a continent be cut up like that? And why would people go along with that? Indigenous people who say that they're part of that continental regional jurisdiction and grouping, right? Like, yeah, things are tough and things are hard, but what's your indigenous title, right? Like Grand Sheik was saying. And then, yeah, there's people who talk about their Ashanti and their, what else? Some of these newer ones, but
Ewe,
Yoruba. But if that's going back to after 1492, then what do you?
Yeah.
Like that was just the first division that was made, or that was just something that was done in order to fight off colonialism, right? So now that you're that, what are you gonna go to after that now? How do you go even deeper? Why would you just stop there and still be caught up in another jurisdiction which you admit that you're not? Well, yeah, I'm Nigerian, but my tribe is this. Okay, so then you should keep progressing to what was your tribe before that, because it's only 400 years, and it's due to threat, duress, and coercion that you joined the Ashanti Confederation. Like, you didn't just, yeah, let's do this. Like, this is a great idea. and just be on the move constantly, fighting all the time, tired, friggin' worn out. Like, it's good to know how to fight, but
You fight certain ways, this will fight another day. Like, for example, the proof is in the Ashanti, just the existence of the Ashanti. Amongst Ghanaians, so-called Ghanaians, they argue against Ashantis and say, why are you guys projecting yourself as if Ashanti is a tribe? When in actuality, it's a confederation. Like the chairman was saying, a leader decided, say, I'm not gonna go down. I want to be the last man standing. So I'm gonna play the game. I'm going to subdue anybody in my own region. If they don't want to conform to my government, I'm going to enslave them and throw them into the slave trade wherever they went, as we know, right? So, if now Ashanti is being passed off as a tribe and people are claiming that as that's who they are, they've fallen into a category of like outlaws. Because there is no such thing as an Ashanti tribe. It is just a gang name, it's for lack of a better word, or a confederacy, a recent confederacy, like
but if
like
it's a
this
confederacy,
one, like the Iroquois Confederacy.
it should be stated. It's like
Right.
there's a European Union. Nobody from the European Union is going to come and say, well, if you ask them where you're from, they're not going to say, I'm from the European Union.
Right.
Like,
so the same exact thing that happened. You can use the Ashanti Confederacy as an example. Is the same thing with the Iroquois here. Right. People are using the Iroquois as if that means they're indigenous, when it was a recent formation of dispersed people who said, okay, now we have to like get together, and it was through this confederacy, which was only actually around the Great Lakes region, going down to New York and stuff like that. That was not all of the Moors or all of the people. And as we were saying earlier, they specifically went in and converted like an individual of an individual tribe, made him a so-called chief. That's the same story of how Manhattan got its name. And for like the hip hop generation, go do the research on who Old Dirty Bastard is and what he went through, and he is like, his story is part of this story that his grandfather was Chief Cuffy, whom of the Manhattans, whom they signed the treaty with.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a thing about Old Dirty Bastard and what he knew, and then this whole thing around him. And even in his music and his songs, there was actually a point in time where he was accused of firing back at the police, and it was like clearly a lie, and he won and then sued faith in his status. Yeah, he is the true father of the Wu-Tang in his status, but because he took on the spirit of Old Dirty Bastard as opposed to whom he was before, a son, right, who used to walk around with his hands behind his back with glasses and articulate and stuff. But then when they gave him the name Old Dirty Bastard, and he didn't really want to rap. He was like kind of pushed, you're the leader. You push.
Just like giving the Moor the name Black.
And he came back calling himself Osiris too.
And then he checked, and then he came back. But by then, as he says in his music, the government's been after him. They're after him, and like he was clearly saying in his music, till like one of his last music, he was like, "They're after me. The government is after me," and everyone sat here like this.
Like whatever, ODB. Too much 40s. Too much Brookings.
ODB.
Right?
ODB, yo.
It's just something.
So just equate that with the Negro, Black, and Colored, and that's how the world is looking at us when we're attributing to those titles. Either that's why those black people, those blacks. It's not because of the color of your skin. It's whom you present yourself as. You use your pants hanging off and you're stepping inside the place, and then you're not gonna get no respect.
Does that move qualify what you're saying as well?
Hancock.
Kids.
Yeah,
Stick Up
man.
Kids? Yeah,
That
yeah.
is
Stick Up
the
Kids, yeah.
qualification
Yeah.
movie.
the one that talks about that.
Yeah.
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 So plug that in
Right.
again,
Yeah.
man.
Stick Up Kids. Make sure you
Stick
go
Up
check
Kids.
Stick Up Kids.
Check
yo.
that out.
It's called Stick Up Kids. Go online.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
We
and
should
then
do a screening on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
we should.
Yeah.
Then we'll do that. In
Mhm.
fact, and then similar to the Manhattan, some people might say to themselves, "Nah, man, that's not an indigenous word, man. That mound, that's not an indigenous word, man. That's just English." Okay, well, if you're so smart, then where did the name Hancock come from? Right? John Hancock? No, John Hancock was 18 something. There's a chief named Chief Hancock in the Tuscarora War in early 1700s. Right? Yeah, I didn't know that till recently either. Right? So before, and then Hancock, right? Hancock, the signer of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence was his father's name was also Hancock, but even that was still after Chief Hancock, right? So these wars that were being fought all up until the late 1800s, right? The Declaration of Independence, John Hancock, right? First signature,
Hence the terms.
sign your Hancock,
You're
John
John Hancock, but it's not John, right? It's Chief.
And then it's about jacking energy.
Jacking that
That's
energy.
why Washington was the first president, because they were jacking the Washita seats of power, which is really indigenous seats of power, right? Because it's like names just whichever name's been there the longest, that's the name you're gonna go with.
The the vibe that, right, because instead of fighting these people, right, eventually you're gonna have to come up with more tactics, right, other than just war tactics. And so anything you could do, any kind of ritual you can do, you'll do it, because it's like people look now and they say, well, the lowest rungs of the planet, like straight up, let's be honest, lowest rungs, the most impoverished people on the planet, basically, or at least let's say in the Americas, the native, right, they say, and the black, right. And then as far as situation, they'll say, oh, these people had all this opportunity, and there might be people on lower rungs in other parts of the world, but in people's heads and socially, like everyone knows that the concept is that, well, these people live in the richest part of the world, and they're still as poor as people in the third world, so something's wrong. Well, yeah, something's wrong. What's wrong is that these people were always different tribes and confederacies, and they couldn't, living in a state is not like, that's a state. If you're water and then you're only in ice form, but your true magic is also in being a liquid and being a gas, then of course you're gonna look friggin' limited and you're gonna look impoverished if you only looked at as a piece of ice. You're water, you're not ice. Ice is a state. So these people are brought up into states, and now we still know we're not in a state, right, as Moors. And then the natives have that certain understanding too, because that's why, you know what I mean, they got to a point where they got pushed onto reserves, and that was like a compromise, right? Not something that's beneficial now, but you know what I mean. And then people from so-called African continent come with their nationalities, right, their African nationalities, but at the same time know that they're part of some other tribe that's spread across like 5 different so-called African countries. So then why aren't you just
Claim that.
and why don't you just form a country around that region?
Form a state.
Well, and then there's fighting and bickering. Well, yeah, but that, you know what I mean? There should have been done in the beginning, or you should have still been fighting these people, like it was done here, right? We're talking about the differences between here and there, but we'll go back to here for now. According to We Are the Washita, I'll just finish this reading. Wherever you find a Washita family or Washita mound site, you find a part of the empire. In said North America, the area from Alleghenies to the Rocky Mountains, from Canada down to the Gulf of Mexico, including East and West Floridas and west to the Pecos River, encompasses the domain of the Empire Washita de Dugdamonia, a landmass of over 30 million acres. History records a network of extensive trading across our land over 3,000 years ago. This is one of the regions that the United States illegally tried to claim as part of the Louisiana Purchase. It is the same region Abraham Lincoln coined as the Egypt of the West and proposed to cede to the ex-slaves, knowing it already belonged to the ancient ones. Other names one will find are Dugdamonia, Desdemonia, the Neutral Strip, and No Man's Land. Quick note, who is Desdemonia? Shakespeare. Othello's wife. Okay, so
Come again?
Othello's wife,
Yeah.
right? Othello, the
Dugdamonia.
Moorish general, right?
Dugdamonia.
Desdemonia,
Yeah.
right? The Moorish general, like more in Shakespeare's own, like the word more in repeatedly in that play. Like that's the Moor play. Like that's the play that's about the Moor, and everyone in the play calls him Moor. Like read that one in grade 8 or whatever. It's just
What's
more
the
and
name
more
of
and
it
more.
again?
Othello,
Othello.
Oh, I thought you
Yeah.
right?
More of Venice.
So that's what the Dugdamonia landmass is called, right? Outside of and surrounding the 13 colonies area.
Right.
So of course, if
And
you're a
also-
president back in those days, it's not necessarily a big thing for you to say, well, let's give them back that land, because even though it's a big piece of land, like that was never part of your jurisdiction in the first place. It's like saying, well, you know, let's let some people just like build huts on the sea. No, there's nobody living on the sea anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But then all of a sudden, if you decide, hey, no, let's ourselves just go and do that, then yeah, you're gonna say, well, okay, never mind that idea. Let's just take it ourselves, and then tell them that they're from Africa.
This is for the people from the Caribbean too, so-called Caribbean, right? Which is really Atlantis Islands, right? That Washita Dugdamonia for Caribbean people should be looked at like patois, right? Because Washita is the people and Dugdamonia, right? Washita, which is us, Dugdamonia.
Exactly.
Are we do it?
Yeah.
Are we Dugdamonia? Are we Dugdamonia?
Right.
Them
So
on there.
everybody who's you know, quote unquote Caribbean would get that.
That's right.
You're Washita. You know what I mean? You're more.
That's right.
You're the real native. You're the real American. Because you're Dugdamonia.
I like that. Yeah, man. That's why I say, like the prophet, it says, and you hear
Islam.
other people say,
Islam.
you hear in the scriptures and different scriptures, they say, honor your foremothers and forefathers. Days may be long, or that, you know what I mean? This is the importance of when you don't tie yourself to who you really truly are, you become vulnerable, right? You let your guard down, you're unable to defend yourself, or your brothers and sisters are unable to defend you.
Or if they know better, then they're able to take advantage of you.
Take advantage of
Right? And then all the things about curses and curse of Ham, it's not curse of Ham, it's a curse because you went
Right.
against the first commandment with a promise. Like there's commandments, and there's commandments that have a promise attached to them. And the first commandment that has a promise attached to it is the commandment that says, children, honor your father and your mother that your days may be long upon the earth land. This is the first commandment with a promise.
So the commandment is honor thy father and mother.
Honor thy father and that. So in other words, if there's commandments with promises, and that's the first one, then that's just another way of saying like that's basically the most important commandment.
Or that's the actual real legitimate contract.
That is.
Because everything else isn't a contract, because it's just them saying don't do this.
Right.
There's no acceptance of an offer.
It's a spiritual contract.
Birthrights and nationality are your security.
And then it comes down to that, right? Birthrights and nationality is your security, not religion. Because people think commandments, they automatically think, oh yeah, me and my relationship with God. Well, your relationship is a contract, which is law. That has nothing to do with religion.
The source and the creator is where.
Inside. Because if you're gonna say it's outside and it's a great being in the sky or wherever, okay, valid. But then, like, don't you think that the relationship is gonna be more of your heritage and your ancestry and your entire nation, millions and billions of people with that creator? He's not gonna come and interact with you alone or on an individual basis.
Or ignore you and just go save.
Right? Unless you go inside yourself. It's either inside yourself or through your ancestors. And if you think your ancestors from Africa and you got it wrong, then it's not his fault. He's just gonna sit there and you're not coming to me properly. Fine. It's like if he has a side door, you have a house and you have a side door, and you tell people don't go to the side door, just come to the front door. And then people are knocking on the side door, and then you see them later, and you're out in the street, and hey man, I came to your house and I was knocking. Well, which door were you knocking on? Oh, I was knocking on the side door. I told you, I don't answer the side door. Come to the front door. Well, I was knocking.
But that's how we sound.
That's how we sound. Whoa, Africa, man. We're from Africa.
So imagine someone else who's been given or has not lost common sense or has been given just some basic, knowledge or just some information about what's going on, and then they see people like us as ambitious as we are, as outspoken as we are, with an ego problem. Because we can't stop to say, like, hold on. Yes, we say we're the creators of everything, and this came from here. We created this and we created that. Yet we're not acting like the ones who created it. Right? We're acting like the ones who are saying, "Oh, they stole it from us. I'm a victim. That's why I don't have it."
Special victims.
When you could
special victims
use your own fingers to count. and
SVU.
Right.
They're special, but they're victims.
Okay.
And
SVU. Oh yeah.
Because we're special, but we're victims, right? So we're special victims.
Right there.
Special victim.
We'll do the SVU.
Right. And it's to keep you in the victim position. That's the monarchy. That's the dominance, the colonization. You're a victim. And then after they create a system of sympathy so that you can dwell in your victimism and, my name is Chris Thompson and I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah. Welcome to the unit.
Welcome to the unit. Good for you. You're like, yeah. And that's what they're there for. To dwell in misery. Loves company. It's a political. It's a political. I mean, it's a psychological.
I think that the so-called leaders who already know better, and we were talking about the same thing before, they know better, so they're really perpetuating the fraud. But the people that are suckered into their game, a lot of them go there out of fear more than anything else. There's some sort of fear that they have, and it's based on all of the institutions, the education, religion, all that stuff that tells you you have to be subordinate. You gotta follow all these rules, and you have to worship in a certain way. You know what I mean? And you have to believe in us because you really don't have the power to do anything for yourself. And everything that, if you want to, basically, it's like, do the right thing here and now on earth, and you'll get your reward. So don't rock the boat. Be a good Negro, and and that's basically what's being taught to us and spoon-fed to us in so many different ways. And it's sad because if you try to talk to people about their autonomy and about their history and about their power, they look at you as though you're being the egotist. You know what I mean? Like there's something wrong with you, and you should really be, humble. And there's nothing wrong with being humble, nothing whatsoever. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with having knowledge about self, and the two don't have to be exclusive of each other. It's nice to know. It's good. It's imperative that we learn self because it's so important. And by knowing it should go hand in hand with that humility. You know what I mean? But what we've been brainwashed into believing is that no, first of all, you gotta toe the line. You gotta go to church. You gotta look at that icon and that idol. And if you don't, you're going straight to hell.
But you're already born in sin, though.
Oh, thank you. I forgot that.
Remember that. Like, you're already born in sin.
So I mean, you might as well throw in the towel.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
If I'm born in sin, let me just. If I'm in for a penny, I'm in for a pound. You understand? I'm gonna have a real good time.
Okay. Going all out.
That's right.
Who what you're saying is supposed to resonate with, it'll resonate with them. And then even if they don't get it, or they're thinking that you're thinking you're too high of yourself or whatnot, eventually they're gonna come back to you and thank you because you set them on the right track. But at that time, they just weren't ready for the info. And if, like Bob says, who feels it knows, and who the captain made them wear it. So if it's not meant for you, you're never gonna get it. But when you're supposed to get it, you'll get it. Even though you might have heard it 5 years ago, and now it's just, because I've met people like that too, where they think that, like, what are you talking about? Or why are you even telling me these things? Everybody else thinks this. And then later on, they come back, and they're so full of their self now that they can't even admit that, you know what, okay, I was wrong, thank you. But they're saying it in a way
They're saying it now.
But they don't really want to admit it, but they're still giving you the acknowledgement, right? So it's time. It'll happen. Right?
We're gonna go back to our good European brother, William Cooper again, because he smashed it in this book. Right? Descriptive introduction of the silent weapon. Everything that is expected from an ordinary weapon is expected from a silent weapon by its creators, but only in its own manner of junctioning. It shoots situations instead of bullets, propelled by data processing instead of a chemical reaction explosion, originating from bits of data instead of grains of gunpowder, from a computer instead of a gun, operated by a computer programmer instead of a marksman, under the orders of a banking magnate instead of a military general. It makes no obvious explosive noises, causes no obvious physical or mental injuries, and does not obviously interfere with anyone's daily social life. Yet, it makes an unmistakable noise, causes unmistakable physical and mental damage, and unmistakably interferes with daily social life, i.e., unmistakable to the trained observer, one who knows what to look for. The public cannot comprehend this weapon, and therefore cannot believe that they are being attacked and subdued by a weapon. The public might instinctively feel that something is wrong. Isn't that the truth? But because of the technical nature of the silent weapon, they cannot express their feelings in a rational way or handle the problem with intelligence. Therefore, they do not know how to cry for help, and do not know how to associate with others to defend themselves against it. When a silent weapon is applied gradually, the public adjusts/adapts to its presence and learns to tolerate its encroachment on their lives until the pressure, psychological via economic, becomes too great and they crack up. Therefore, the silent weapon is a type of biological warfare. It attacks the vitality, options, and mobility of the individuals of society by knowing, understanding, manipulating, and attacking their sources of natural and social energy and their physical, mental, and emotional strengths and weaknesses. And this guy is a cracker and wants to hang people out of the truth. Right? When he's giving it to you more than Sheikh Anta Diop and all these other people that we hold up. No, they assassinated him.
That's the first thing I want to ask you, man. I had to ask you.
Oh, yeah.
You would have got
They assassinated him, yo.
Oh, yeah.
in his house.
And Sheikh Anta Diop lived out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was this the book that they sent it back?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
This just recently came back.
Came back in the circulation.
You couldn't
it was
get
out.
this
You
for like
couldn't
at
get
least
it.
10 or more years.
Yeah.
When did it come back to?
Maybe in the past 3 years.
Yeah,
because I remember when I was.
We couldn't find it.
I remember when that.
They gave you every title that was that, but it wasn't this book.
Right.
Yeah.
They had like 10 different Behold a Pale Horse.
Pale Horse, but
not
it wasn't.
this book.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Oh,
this.
really?
Yeah,
With the
yeah,
same
yeah,
title?
yeah, with the same title
Because
and
I know
everything.
I'd heard the
And
title.
I
Yeah.
had the DVD,
Yeah.
but it was of him just giving a lecture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Said some
Yeah.
stuff in there and blah blah.
Right.
And Illuminati. If you ever remember, like these
Oh yeah.
other guys, they called them.
Illuminati. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they used to interview him a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. The guys who
New
were
World
talking
Alliance or
about.
something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Just like the New World Order.
Oh man.
No. Like New World Alliance was basically like just some.
Whistleblower
So
conspiracy.
yeah, some
theorists,
conspiracy theorists that came
like a
together,
pre.
and they would have like radio shows and whatever, and then like this was one of the people that they used to like push, like always, you know what I mean?
Like he was there.
Yeah,
Like yeah, that's the
yeah,
man.
that's
He
the
showed
man,
us,
like you know
yeah,
what I mean?
that's what we should do.
It's the man, yeah. But you can get this again, Behold a Pale Horse, yeah.
Yeah, he went around exposing. He had copies. He had the originals or whatever of the Kennedy assassination. And he went to China. He ran around the world with the videos of the Kennedy assassination, clearly showing that the driver just turned around and went, "Pow!" Right, and that the whole hoax is going on in the United States and blah, like go on YouTube and William Cooper lecture or whatever, and then when you see him, he looks a little younger in a black suit. Just watch that, and he just goes over in detail for like 10 minutes. He sent it to Chinese, and they re-edited
So why
and
did they
blew
kill
it
John F.
up.
Kennedy, though?
Huh?
Why did they kill him?
Can anyone else help with that? One
Well,
thing I noticed
yeah.
is he was reestablishing silver currency. According to the Constitution, money is gold and silver. Right? What we're using right now is not backed by gold or silver, and there was a process that it went through.
Currency and
Right.
legal tender.
Right. So
That was
what
one of the
happened
main
was
things.
after that, Kennedy was about to reinstate it.
Also too, around that same time, right before he got assassinated, was when Haile Selassie went to meet with him.
Yeah, he was at his funeral.
Right? Yeah.
If you watch the movie could give you a good depiction of it's called JFK. It gives you a good basis of some of the things or reasons why they assassinated him, but you know it's like there's still a lot of more cover-ups and stuff like that. Right? Emperor Selassie is even in the movie actually, but they show actual footage of his funeral.
Oh, for real, huh?
And then when you're watching the movie, and when you're watching like all the delegates standing up
Yeah,
outside,
you could see.
you see him, but she's in the actual
He's
frame.
in it, yeah.
That's why
Kennedy's
no more.
greatest.
Ah!
One more president they tried to kill right after John F. Kennedy.
Who?
There's one more president, right?
Not tried, they did.
Yeah, there's another one.
His
sorry.
brother.
And then his son. And then now
So a lot
Schwarzenegger.
of time, like
wife.
they were trying to get into a lot of places too, right? In the other Americas, like Cuba and all those places.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of things, like, you know, where they're invading and trying to set up, whatever they're trying to set up. And I think he was trying to get troops out of those places as well.
Oh, Vietnam.
Yeah, Vietnam.
Was it Vietnam?
And as well with Fidel Castro, there's something
Oh,
major with Fidel Castro.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Bay of
Bay of
Pigs.
Exactly.
That is what it was.
Yeah,
too.
John F. Kennedy said not to go in, and then his generals told him to go in, and then they went in, and then he's like, what the F?
Yeah.
He's like, yo, why you go against my orders? And they're like, nah, they're gonna kill us first.
So there's 3 movies that tie in that story together, and so on the same time frame. It's JFK movie, also Black Panther movie,
Yeah.
and as well as the Adam Clayton Powell story. Yeah, Adam Clayton Powell. It's called can't remember the name of it.
The radio host.
No, he was like a I don't want to say a priest, but a reverend or archbishop.
The man's face on it.
In the early 1920s. He's actually the first congressman. The first congressman? Yeah.
Before,
Adam Clayton Powell.
What's in your hand?
No, that's not the name. That's probably just a documentary on him. But there's an actual movie that Harry Belafonte. No, not Harry Belafonte.
Look at that picture. That's the man. That's how the man.
Yeah,
is.
this is Adam Clayton Powell. But Harry, what's his name, man? Camp. Harry, isn't Harry Lennox? Is that a name of actor? I don't know. But his Harry something is the one who's playing him.
We'll get back on that.
Yeah,
Right?
for real. So that's what the movie is about. But in that time, Bobby, and JFK went to see him in order. Like a lot of people think they were so for our people and whatnot, but they were just so for our people's votes so they could get in the office.
Clinton.
Yeah, right. So they have to go to him to get most of the people in Harlem and New York, certain parts, east, to vote for them.
And there's a possibility that he might not have fulfilled everything they wanted him to do. He may have one time started to sway from. Remember, even within their Illuminati circles, they have different divisions that fight against each other for the supreme spot. Like Barack Obama's a Kissinger boy, when Clinton is a Rockefeller boy. Similar, but not necessarily. Right?
Sponsors.
Yeah, sponsors and stuff, and the sponsors have different agendas or different. They Kissinger group or regime wants to do things this way. You know what I mean? When the other regime wants to do things this way, yeah, we should just kill them all, and then the other one's like, no, let's put a black guy up in up there. So there's this inter battle. But
One person is just a booth.
like in any company, right? Especially if you know that the United States is a corporation, which is a company, and just you can look up just the standard, the structure of a company, and they have different positions. There's a CEO, there's all the way going all the way down the chairman, and then there's the president, whom, and then his titles and his duties are just to be the face, the medium between the people or the media and the actual government. President don't really know much what's going on. He's not allowed in certain meetings. He's only allowed to certain, even in a company. You know what I mean? So that's why some people can elect somebody who has a fame, like Strong Jane. Remember that? You could, I don't know if you remember, but you could, like, somebody popular, like 50 cents or whatever.
It's a brand.
A brand, right. So you can, like, a box of condoms or whatever, and then you just hire 50 cents, and now 50 cents, but he ain't nothing.
Yeah.
Right, but then everyone's walking around buying products because they think that he's running the show and that they're buying from him. Just 50 cents gets no sense for each condom sale.
It's the board of directors.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The title they direct, right? The president presides, right? So which verb is more active, direct or preside?
Okay.
Like if I'm presiding in this chair, then I'm sitting here. I'm just sitting there. Right? It's telling you the director is direct, like yo, this is
Directors giving orders.
giving orders, delegating, right? So if you have an invisible board of directors, then how you ever expect to, you know what I mean, have your voice heard? There's an invisible board of directors, right? For every so-called corporation, nation, state on the planet, right? And then the only way that you can avoid having an invisible board of directors is if you have a republic. And then democracy is the code word that use the concepts of republic with loopholes and ways for the invisible board of directors to still control,
And
right?
get out of.
Right?
The loopholes is also escape hatches.
Escape hatches to get out of liability, but still have control over something that appears to be what a republic really is, right? And then they don't use the same name because it's not about lying. It's about telling the truth without people knowing that what the truth that you're telling really is. Right? When you lie, then you're causing more immediate, you know what I mean? Danger for yourself. When you tell the truth, then you may not have to deal with your consequences until long after you pass on.
The next party comes in.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to deal with it all.
Yeah.
It's a game for them.
Right. The artificial womb. Right. So remember, this is European.
Artificial womb.
Womb,
Okay.
right? European, right? Who's a cracker, kills niggers and all that stuff. From the time a person leaves its mother's womb, its every effort is directed toward building, maintaining, and withdrawing into artificial wombs various sorts of substitute protective devices or shells. The objective of these artificial wombs is to provide a stable environment for both stable and unstable activity, to provide a shelter for the evolutionary process of growth and maturity, i.e. survival, to provide security for freedom, and to provide defensive protection for offensive activity. This is equally true of both the general public and the elite. However, there is a definite difference in the way each of these classes go about solutions of problems. Responsibility. Again, most people want to be free to do things, to explore, etc., but they are afraid to fail. The fear of failure is manifested in irresponsibility and especially in delegating those personal responsibilities to others where success is uncertain or carries possible or created liabilities, law, which the person is not prepared to accept. They want authority, root word author, but they will not accept responsibility or liability, so they hire politicians to face reality for them. Summary. The people hire the politicians so they can obtain security without managing it, obtain action without thinking about it, inflict theft, injury, and death upon others without having to contemplate either life or death, avoid responsibility for their own intentions, obtain the benefits of reality and science without exerting themselves in the discipline of facing or learning either of these things. They give the politicians the power to create and manage a war machine to provide for survival of the nation/womb, to prevent encroachment of anything upon the nation/womb, destroy the enemy who threatens the nation/womb, destroy those citizens of their own country who do not conform for the sake of stability of the nation/womb. Politicians hold many quasi-military jobs, the lowest being the police, which are soldiers, the attorneys and the CPAs, next who are spies, and saboteurs, and the judges who shout the orders and run the closed union military shop for whatever the market will bear. The generals are industrialists. The presidential level of commander-in-chief is shared by the international bankers. The people know that they have created this farce and financed it with their own taxes, consent, but they would rather knuckle under than be the hypocrite. Thus, a nation becomes divided into two very distinct parts: a docile subnation, great silent majority, and a political subnation. The political subnation remains attached to the docile subnation, tolerates it, and leeches its substance until it grows strong enough to detach itself and then devour its parent. So the child nation, the most infant nation on the planet, is now at the point where it's about to devour the mother, right? And really, like, when I watch like those serpent shows or whatever, snake shows, and they give you the showdown of, like, the cow versus the snake, and then this snake's gonna suffocate this cow and then just stretch the mouth and just, right, and then it realizes like 3/4 of the way that I shouldn't have ate this. And then now it has to regurgitate now, right? So it's regurgitated now because the democracy can't use the republic to do some craziness with it because it's something divine, right? So the European that have infiltrated the government, not the Europeans like William Cooper, right? The Europeans that are a real cracker and the devil or whatever, that infiltrated, and they're trying to basically take over by keeping the public deaf, dumb, and blind to the real facts about history and law and information. Because once they have the people not knowing that, then they can do whatever. And this thing will run for another 400 years, just based on people's ignorance, not because they had bombs and they, inflicted, something on people.
No, they don't have to. We were talking about the silent weapon world.
Right,
Very insidious.
right.
They get conditioned.
There's a program.
Yeah, exactly. They don't need bombs.
Yeah.
They don't need guns.
Yeah.
So, like you said, there's Europeans who are trying to promote this democracy thing and infiltrated long ago, and then there's Europeans like William Cooper and who knows, right? Europeans who are going along with the democracy fraud, but in their heart of hearts and in their mind, they're like, hold on, wait a second.
No,
Right? This is not right. And when the time comes, if I can do something, I'm going to do
Do it.
something. I'm going to do it.
No
'cause
questions asked.
democracy's fraud. The republic's real.
hence the sovereignty movements and
Right.
all that.
That's right. Which are sort of premature
Right, no,
attempts
you're right. You're right.
and unprepared attempts at doing something that they're not even sure what they have to do. They know they have to do something. But, that's why we're here to educate them and show them, like, yeah, you have to raise up the republic. As Moors, we live in our own indigenous jurisdiction. And the republic is that jurisdiction that allows them to do what they do in peace with the indigenous people, right? And obviously, that's the way a prosperous nation is going to be prosperous. When people are wondering, like, scratching their head, like, whoa, what happened? What's this recession taking so long? Like, because there's a fraud been going on, and it can only go on for so long. So now things are changing, and before we close it, I'm going to finish a reading from We Are the Washita, which sort of goes into these changes and things going back to the way they're supposed to be. To date, the Empress, as one of the living heirs of Henry Turner, so we'll just go quickly back. Actually, never mind. So Henry Turner, there's a Turner case in the 1800s. A family of people named Tunica, or a misnomer Turner, won a court case in the Supreme Court that they're the indigenous people of the land and that they're the descendants of a certain noble family, and that they have a land grant to how many thousands of acres of land, and they won the case, right? Then there was another case of descendants of this people, who Nat Turner is related to, and who the Holy Prophet is related to, right? The Turner family, the Tunica family, and then there's the Empress, right? Empress Vertice Tiari, Washita Turner Gostin El Bay. So that's what we're talking about. To date, the Empress, as one of the living heirs of Henry Turner, has recovered the title to 68,883 acres, comprising most of the northern part of the said state of Louisiana. The U.S. knows this land was not part of the Louisiana Purchase and never was ceded to them. They simply tried to steal it by murdering the rightful owners, then claiming it as public domain. In all, there are nearly 3 million acres that legally belong to the Washita as part of the Maison Rouge grant. The terms of the Maison Rouge land grant clearly stipulated no Americans were to be admitted or established on these lands. This was a deliberate act to ensure rights of French and Spanish nobility to their titles and lands. The sovereign monarchy of Spain left no doubt as to their intentions in regards to any future American claims to this land, to this area. The lands of this bona fide grant was verified and approved by both Spanish and U.S. surveyors, subsequently receiving the recognition of the commission appointed to review land claims and the U.S. Congress. In the 1800s, when those native peoples were driven at gunpoint from their sacred lands in the southeastern said U.S., where did they have to go? What was the path and ultimate destination of the infamous Trail of Tears? These native peoples from the Carolinas, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Texas were returned to the lands of the ancient ones, the Washita proper. They were driven across the Washita Mountains, through the Washita Forest to the basin of the Washita Rivers, in the heart of the Washita Empire. This area was later named Indian Territory, or Oklahoma, right? And if you go on old maps, you'll see it doesn't say Oklahoma, it says Indian Territory, right? The U.S. military knew precisely where to return our people. Any map of the continent will show the locations to the Washita rivers. They begin at the Gulf of Mexico in the delta of the Mississippi River, Meshesebe, at St. Louis River. This area was highly developed in days of old. There was a booming ancient port near present-day Natchez. This was a center of international trading for the ancient mound-building cultures. There are still several mound sites all around this area. Due west of Natchez, the Black River and Red River split and feed the lands of the Washita proper. Both of these rivers are eventually called Washita River as they wind their way through our enchanted land. Washita is the plural of Washita, in the heart of Arkansas and Oklahoma. The said neutral and Native America state, respectively, are the Washita Rivers, the Washita Forest, and the Washita Mountains. One way the governments of the United States had tried to steal our lands was by changing the name to Wachita and dividing the nations. This was the same method used to steal some of our people from said Africa, change their names, and divide the families. The said state of Louisiana and the local officials of the said Washita parish know full well who owns all territory they occupy, and maintain friendly relations with the Empress and the Empire. There is a peaceful transition underway as we develop our institutions and implement our approved self-governing programs. So that just speaks to awareness of what's going on around you, what's going on in the landmass called North America, like what's really going on. Not, oh well, I saw this thing on the news the other day, big like mainstream media. Okay, then that was mainstream media. That's fine. Granted, now go and research and find out what else is going on that you're not hearing about, right? Like people always complain, there's not enough. It's only bad news. There's only bad news on the TV, right? And then you come to them, and hey, I have some information, and then they want to start questioning you. Like they're waiting for good news, and then they want to question you when you tell them something like, well, the Empress is winning back acres and acres of land every day. Well, I don't know who those people are, and I never knew that black people were from here, and excuse after excuse after excuse, and blah, 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 right? So, but, Bleach History Month is over, and, we did some bashing, and, bashing still has to go on, but we're here to bring, information and share the information. So, in that spirit, if there's any quick questions before we wrap up, or anything,
I just add,
put on the record.
for the record, the necessity of why we're bringing these things up, the whole intention is to assist our prophet in upliftment of fallen humanity. But I guess in detail, we're looking to improve the quality of our lives, the lives for our children, for the future generations. So we're not here wasting time. We're not intellectually stimulating ourselves. It's not a boys club, a men's club, or all the other groups that are affiliated with not like stagnant movement, which is an oxymoron, right? But that's exactly what is happening. The movements are stagnant, right? So we want to
Too much positive energy and no negative.
even that, right? The give and take.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Balance.
Negative energy is movement, positive energy is stagnation. One
So-
can't go without the other.
Organized chaos.
Islam.
Wow.
Islam, peace. No questions? I know you have, bro. I know you have.
Well, sure.
If anything.
Yeah, special time right now.
They say for
Last
nothing.
they were gonna be here till 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning.
Again,
I know last week I was
Spirit
like,
takes you.
10 o'clock things still going on.
Yeah.
That's not.
not
Okay, we'll close out.
That's
We'll close out. So, as we do rise and give honor to the Prophet, give honor to all active Moors all over Northwest and Mexico, North Gate, all over the world.
And give thanks to all the Moors viewing today.
Give thanks.
Give thanks.
And we rise with our arms at 45-degree angle, 5 on the left, 2 on the right, feet at 45-degree angle, as we do.
observe if you like.
Peacefully observe. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
The Mother and Father of love.
Mother and Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom. And justice. Allah is our protector.
Allah is our protector.
Our guide.
Our guide.
And our salvation.
And our salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
Through his and our holy prophet.
Through his and our holy prophet.
Noble Drew Ali. Amen.
Amen.
Ameen.
Amin.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Hotep.
Hotep.
Sila.
Sila.
Islam.
Islam. Peace.
Islam.
Big up yourself.
Hi.